Can you trust the motorcycle manufacturer? In my case with this Honda, no, you can't. And this is most of the motorcycle manufacturers. So I had some big problems on my Honda CRF250L on the front. The triple clamp was having a little bit of a snagging, and after taking it apart, it's a fairly new motorcycle and barely used. And after taking it apart, I realized that it didn't have enough grease on the bearings for the triple arm. I'm going to show you that part of the video towards the end. But the point I'm trying to make before I get to that is that you cannot trust the manufacturers. And why you cannot trust the manufacturers? Because cost-saving, labor-saving principles for profit create all kinds of problems. And it doesn't matter if it's a KTM or a Honda or a Yamaha or whatever. There are certain things that when you buy a new motorcycle, you just got yours, you're really excited, you bought it because it's new, because you don't want to have any problems, you don't want to tinker with it, you don't want to mess with things. Well, guess what? You will have to do all of that. If you're purchasing a new motorcycle, you will have to re-grease out of the box, re-grease, and I emphasize on re-grease. The triple arm bearings are very, very important. Also the swing arm bearings are very, very important. Any kind of a bearing, even including the wheels, are very, very important because manufacturers these days, especially motorcycles that are used for dual sport purposes where you're going to put them through terrain that is a little bit rougher. What's going to happen is that they're going to give you 1 year warranty and 10,000 miles, and it will last 1 year and 10,000 miles, but that's nothing. The problem is that a year passes by and then rust and other things will start going in. And what happened to me, it will happen to you. Before I get into the details of the video, this motorcycle that I have, this Honda, was made in Thailand. And the Japanese work culture is very, very different in Japan. So if this bike would have been made in Japan, maybe they would have not skimped on the grease as much. Maybe they would have torqued the bolts a little bit better. Maybe the Thailandese guy that fixed this bike, maybe he didn't feel as honorable that day, so he put a little bit of like grease, or maybe the manager told him and said, hey, we're going to 3 barrels a day, can you make it 2? And then we're going to save a lot of money. And unfortunately I had to deal with the consequences. Luckily I was able to fix it, but it's a temporary fix, and I'll show you at the end, well, I'll tell you at the end what I actually should have done and how much it would have cost you. Here's the problem. So the handlebars, they have like a, you see this, there's a soft spot in them. So they snag over here right in the middle. So front wheel has to come off and forks have to come off, and we have to take the triple clamp out. Okay, with the front end off, you could definitely see it much better, look. See how it does this little bouncing. And you could feel it. It's definitely offsetting the bike when you try to balance. So I'm gonna take this nut off and see what happens. Behind this big nut over here, they put this cork to stop the rust and the water go in so it doesn't rust. Well, that didn't work. This is a huge failure for Honda. With the front end off, there's a track over here that you should feel with your hand if it has any damage to it. If it doesn't have any damage to it and you feel it in your hand, then you should not have to replace it. It's not only hard to be replaced because you have to push it out and push another one in. You also have to order them, and when you're in the middle of nowhere, you're not gonna have one. So this one is fine. The bottom one though has a little bit of a scarring, so there's a little bit of a less grease that went in here. And if I move my hand on it, right about here, it has a little bit of a scarring from like not enough grease. Temporary solution, high grit sandpaper, sand it really, really well, and that will hold for a while until I could get it replaced. Okay, now it's properly greased. So as you can see, I have an excess of grease. I would rather have more than less. And then with the new shaved track that I have over there, which looks a lot better than before. Look at the before and after pictures. Hopefully it's still round enough to like not feel too weird. We're gonna put the triple arm back on and then see how it works. It's almost like I have to learn how to ride again because it is so smooth in the turns. So freaking smooth.
Yeah, it's like when you lean it, it just turns. It just absolutely flies. Yeah, it's like I have to learn not to push too hard on it because it's just so smooth.
So if you would have taken it into any dealer, if you would have taken it into any mechanic, the following would have happened. What I've done a temporary solution that could last forever. So I don't know if you heard that term, temporary solution that could last forever. So what happens is that a lot of times you have these fixes where you jimmy rig something and then you never have to deal with it again. And it happened to me multiple times in my life where I fix something, I'm gonna be like just temporary for a while and it just stays like that forever. Now, if you'd have taken it to the dealership, what would have happened is that you would have had the frame removed, which would cost a lot of money. And then they have to put the frame into a special press or buy a special press to be able to pull those things out and replace them. Not only that are hard to come by here in Romania, but also I don't have the press and then you have to heat it up and then you need a blowtorch and you have to disconnect a lot more than I've disconnected because you're gonna burn some hoses and stuff like that. So it's a very, very expensive service. What I've done right now to it, it is good enough where it feels good. I don't know how well it will last, so that's why it's important to stay subscribed to the channel because on this channel I present even on my failures. So if this is not gonna last, you'll know. You'll be the first one to know because I'm gonna make a video about it. But at this point, I have a couple of rides on it and it feels great. So I'm really, really happy with the repair and with the money that I've saved, hundreds and if not thousands of dollars so far on this bike. This kind of like makes me question, it's a Honda? Yes. Is it made by Honda standards? Yes. Maybe the motor is important, I don't know. But the assembly process, where they put them together, what country they put them together, it's important. And that's why my Toyota that I have in the United States is the one that was made in Japan. And I bought it 20 years ago and I still have it because Japanese people have a certain culture, and when they spread their manufacturing into the United States, Mexico, Canada, Europe, and so on. So what happens is that they cannot import their culture. They could import their checklists and they say you have to put grease over here and you have to be this much of a grease, but how that grease is applied might not be, all that fun. And maybe, once the bike is assembled, but nobody's gonna check the grease levels or if the grease is in the right place. So if you have a new bike and you're really, really excited about your new motorcycle and then you want to have this bike for a while, that's an interesting part about having a new bike is that out of the box, you have to tinker with certain things. And that makes me wonder what happens if you buy a new car. I don't know, I'll never buy a new car, so I'll blame everything on the previous owner, I guess. Thanks for watching.